there's always a reason that people do what they do. And there's always a history to that. It's not you're a bad person or, you hurt somebody there are some things that absolutely should never be done. But learning the background about why that happened and hearing conversations about that, it has helped me get to where I am.
Welcome to Oxygen for Educators. I'm one of your hosts, Michelle Kinder, and you'll meet Chris Kent Phelps in just a bit. It's our hope to bring you thought-provoking, unscripted conversations full of actionable ideas to fuel your important work in the world. Thanks for tuning in. This space is for you. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Michelle. How are you?
Did you notice my S was extra pronounced just now?
No.
It was like Chris.
Maybe you're really excited to see me today.
Of course I am. It's great to see you.
It's great to see you.
Here we are to introduce our wonderful new friend, Jose Villaseñor, to the world. And he is such a love.
He is such a light, such a light. Yes, as we would expect him to be, because he was referred to us by our dear friend and first podcast guest, Dr. Sylvia Lopez, which is awesome.
Totally. Do you want to share his bio so people know what's coming?
Yeah, let's do it. First of all, I wish everyone could read his bio. Maybe it'll be posted, but it's just such a beautiful essay. And so when he comments in y'all's discussion about a book, as many people do, I would really want to read his book. I love the way he writes. It's really beautiful writing. So, Jose, or as his friends call him, Joe. So I'm hoping after this podcast he'll let us call him Joe.
So far, he's made us call him Mr. Villaseñor, which is awkward, but we're doing it. No, I'm kidding. He's not. That's a joke.
Okay, what's the beer commercial of the most interesting man? Do you know what I'm talking about? Is it Dos Equis?
That I don't know.
Anyway, it's like the most interesting man. It's a whole ad campaign, but that's what I thought about when I looked at his bio. So he was born in a small town in Texas, and I love that he comments in his bio that he grew up with a strong sense of community and possibility. But he worked in a family business and then went into television. Then he went to seminary, became a Carmelite. Then he became a bail bondsman, moved into social work, almost into the Secret Service, and then landed in education, where he's been for 18 years. And he had a desire to be a counselor, so he went that direction and got a master's degree in counseling. But he's currently moved into a very interesting role and very relevant for this podcast. He leads the employee wellness program at Irving ISD in Irving, Texas. So he has a lot to offer for Oxygen for Educators.
He's a true Renaissance man.
He really is.
The zigging and zagging of his geographical past and his employment past, vocational past is just so fascinating. I'm with you on the book. Like, we want a book. We want a book.
And I think what our listeners will find interesting is I felt like on the podcast, he did a really great job of summarizing his takeaway from each one of those roles, and all of which are relevant to people in education.
Let's hear it.
Okay.
Hello, Jose.
Hello, Michelle.
Welcome. I'm so excited to have this conversation because your bio, I felt like I dropped into contemplative literature just reading your bio. I'm not joking. It was so captivating. So I'm just thrilled you're here.
Well, it's really an honor to be here. I just feel so privileged to be asked to be here, and I'll share my humble story and what we do here and how I got here. And so thank you again for having me be a guest.
Well, you're most welcome, and your intuition is right on the mark, because we love to start with just asking you to tell your story, and you pick where you start and how deep you go, but we want to know how you got here.
Well, it's I guess, you know what, I'll start with how I got to education. So I started working at a high school in South Texas, in McAllen, Texas, doing social work for Communities in Schools, or CIS, which is a nonprofit that works with students who need a little more support and guidance. And I did social work and worked with these amazing kiddos who taught me more about education than I ever knew. And so I just enjoyed that. And I never thought I would become a teacher or go into counseling, but I wanted to connect and I wanted to continue to, guide and mentor. And so through that experience, I went into, I wanted to go into counseling directly. But in Texas, you have to go through education first, 3 years of education, and then you can apply to be a counselor. Of course, you get your master's in counseling. And so I went through the process and I thought the easiest way to get there would be elementary school. I thought it would be the easiest. So I started in Donna, Texas, teaching first grade, bilingual ESL first grade. Some of these kiddos had not gone to kinder. And so it was a whole a whole learning experience for me about how to teach and how to guide. And it was more about how to follow rules and how to work together. But to watch these kiddos grow in 1 year was just amazing. So that's how I started.
You were doing what traditionally is done in like pre-K and K in first, along with all the other huge academic lifting that happens in first. That's crazy.
It was what I loved was reading to them. And they were so attentive, and so respectful. And I think and I say this carefully, I think it does make a difference to be a guy or a man teaching elementary school. You already have that kind of leg up as far as just kind of give the stern look,
They're like, what's happening here? This is different.
They were truly, and their parents were so involved. And this was back in the mid-90s. So it was a different atmosphere as far as education, and also a different part of Texas where there was just, education was seen in a different light, as far as the teacher knows best. This was, again, back 30 years ago.
Deference was different. Also, challenges were and are different. My dad and his family are from the Valley, and I have a sister that still lives in Harlingen. So when you say Donna, I'm like, oh, Donna. Yeah.
Yes. And I grew up in South Texas. I grew up in La Feria, Texas, which is just 5 miles west of Harlingen. And so, it's a different world there still.
Yes, I love it. I love it there. It feels like a bit of exhale from concrete and pretension that we are surrounded by in the Metroplex.
It's like a big, small town, the whole valley.
Yeah.
The connections, the towns are so close together. There's always, of course you have your football rivalries, but it's very much a wholesome kind of, like you said, not pretentious, type of environment at all.
Yeah. Okay, so keep going. You were teaching first grade, and you thought that was going to be the easy route.
I really did. I'll tell you one quick story about, and then we'll go on to what happened next. So the kiddos, like I said, my favorite part of elementary was reading to them these big books, and they want to get as close to you as possible. They're on the floor, sitting crisscross applesauce. And they want to get as close to you as possible. And so I'm always wearing cowboy boots. That's just why I grew up. So I would always tell them, you got to move back. And sometimes they, resisted because they wanted to see the pictures and they wanted to, hear the story. And sometimes kiddos, how sometimes kiddos get the runny nose, so they would use my pant leg as a tissue or to wipe their nose.
Gosh.
And so I couldn't, be like, oh no,
right,
I couldn't do that.
No.
I just like, all right, please get a tissue and get me one too. And we don't use my pants for that.
I
But
thought I had heard it all, but I've never heard that. That is too funny.
it was an amazing experience. So I did that for 2 years, and then I moved to Chattanooga, Tennessee, or East Ridge, which is just south, and I worked in Dalton, Georgia. I had some good friends there that I went to college with, and they kept always sent me pictures, and I just thought it was beautiful. And so I thought, I'm young enough to move right now. I don't, I'm still experiencing life. And so I moved there, and I taught there for a year. I taught in Dalton, Georgia, which is the carpet capital of the world. That's where they manufacture most of the carpet
Did not know that.
around us. And I taught 3rd and 4th grade ESL there. Again, just amazing students and parents, and the faculty and staff where there was just, so welcoming. And this was, again, the ESL movement in the South, and really helping bring programs to helping these students learn English, master English, and continue to succeed. And I will tell you, this was where there's a lot of money funded into ESL, again, mid-90s. And my biggest class, Michelle, was 8 students, and my smallest was 4 students.
Yeah.
And I had 2 assistants that helped me.
Wow.
So we were able to really work with them one-on-one, and just got to know them and got to know their families, and just loved it there. I was there for a year. And I'll share this. This is amazing to watch them learn English so quickly and catch on. And I want to write a book about this. So I'll put that out there, that don't steal my ideas, people.
Trademarked as of now.
I'm going to trademark it. So one of my students, I'll still remember his name, Robert. He runs into the room, and he opens the door wildly, and he says, "Mr. V, can a dinosaur beat a dragon? Beat up a dragon?" And Michelle, I swear I want to write a book about that. It's the mindset of the kiddo. And but I just, again, amazing experience. I was going to stay there. I wanted to stay there. And
okay, before you go on, I have to tell you something I'm noticing. Like, in these few minutes, you have brought to life, with the little stories you've told, the unexpected joys that teachers and counselors and administrators experience being in deep relationship with little kids. Like, they're so random, they're so funny, they're so dear, and like, not losing connection to that magic this many years into the field tells me so much about you and your heart.
Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate that. I always have wanted to serve. I've always wanted to be in that helping profession. I've always wanted to, have some type of contribution to the future. And so I found it, and through education. And just going backwards just a bit, I went after I was in CIS and going back to school to get my alternative certification, and then my master's in counseling. I remember calling a friend of mine, and I'm talking to my friend. I don't remember his name. I feel awful saying that. Anyway, I knew them very well. I don't remember their name. And I said, I don't know if I want to do this. It was my first semester going back to school. And so Jose was his name. It was just like mine. And, and so he yells out to his wife. We were all good friends. And he says, "Hey," and my friends call me Joe. So he says, "Joe's on the phone. He doesn't know if he wants to go in education or not. He's going through the program." And she yells back, "Yes, he needs to do that." So that was my decision. All right, these guys believe in me. I'm going to.
She knew. She was the oracle in the story. She was like, it's so clear. He has to.
Truly. So after a year in Dalton, I was ready to go on. And I loved the school community there and getting to know Tennessee and right on the border of Georgia. And I just loved the whole environment. Experiencing the seasons, but not as, it wasn't too intense. It was just enough. And so my family wanted me to come back to Texas. And I wasn't ready to. My sister, my oldest sister, Sylvia, she said, "You need to come back. Mom and Dad miss you." And of course, being from a Mexican family, that whole family connection is so important. And I said, "I'm not ready. Let me stay here a couple more years." Well, she sent my resume out to different school districts in DFW. And
She was
Fort
like,
Worth,
we're getting him back here one way or another.
Fort Worth and Plano ISD reached out to me. And I said, "All right, I picked Plano. I said, I'm gonna fly down and see." And on my flight, Michelle, I said, "I'm not gonna move back. I'm not ready to move back." I said, "I'm gonna give this a try. I have nothing to lose." I wasn't nervous. And the first principal, I had 3 interviews. The first principal was at a brand new elementary, was just about to be open, and this was for a school counseling position. Mrs. Kirby, Elizabeth Kirby, Beverly Elementary. And so she's a very tough lady. It's like, "I don't know if I want to work for you." But of course, she starts with the tough questions, and um, I'm answering them very relaxed. And then in the middle of the interview, she starts using "Well, when you start to do this, and when I will need you to do this," and all of a sudden I could see a little transformation of, okay, we made a connection. So I got the job, and I said, "All right, I'll come back." So
Did you surprise yourself when you decided to come back?
I did surprise myself. I did, because I love different parts of the country. I went to school in Columbus, Ohio, and then in New York, and then in DC. I'm sorry, the DC, and then in New York. And then I moved home for a couple of years, and then I moved to, like I said, Chattanooga, Eastridge, and worked in Georgia. So I love seeing different parts of the country, experiencing them. And I thought, well, I'll come back to Texas, to North Texas, for a couple of years, and I've stayed here for 25 years.
And how 18 of those are longer in Irving? How many in Irving?
18.
18. And before you got back to your Irving work, you did some time in a seminary?
Yes. I didn't start there. I didn't start my story there, but yes, I thought we'll come back to that.
Okay, so
Yes.
that was pre
That was,
communities and schools.
yes, I
Got
did.
it, got it.
So I'll share this with you. My parents might not like this, but I didn't do very well in college, my first 2 years in college after high school. And my dad worked at a TV station in Harlingen at KGBT. And he said, "You're not going to keep going to school. You need to start working." So he got me a job there as a cameraman. And I slowly started to learn, and then I became a production assistant, and then a master control director. And after 2 years, I said, "Okay, I'm liking this." But there wasn't a lot of growth there. It was a small market. So I moved to Austin, again, followed some friends there, and I worked for a TV station there. And I was there for 4 years, again, starting as a production assistant and then moving my way up to master control and then graphics producer. And I loved it. I loved being creative and creating things that are going to be on the screen. And I love that part of TV. And I'll say, Michelle, almost every day, I would park in front of a church, and the station was across the street. And I always had that, something was calling me.
Interesting.
And I was like, after 4 years, I said, I need to explore this. I need to find out, what is this about? And so I reached out to my diocese in Brownsville, Texas, and they interviewed me, and they sent me to Columbus, Ohio. The Pontifical College Josephinum was the seminary, and I was there for 3 years and got a master's in philosophy. And then I joined the Carmelites religious order, and then they sent me to DC for a year where I studied theology, and then to New York for a year. And I just loved moving around and seeing different parts of the country. But in New York, I kind of felt like, this might not be the right fit at this time.
Yeah.
I was already approved to move forward, but I felt like something is not connecting. I still want to contribute and help, but this might have not been at that time the right place. So I decided again to go back home and disappoint my parents because they were so proud. I had to have long conversations with them, and they understood. But I don't know if I put this in my bio. After I got back, I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know what. And so I had a friend who worked in DC for Bill Clinton, actually. And he had a connection to the Secret Service. He had become buddies with the deputy of that group. And he said, you know, the Secret Service recruits former seminarians because of their formation and dedication. I was like, you're just saying that. But he connected me to him, and that's what he told me. You know, there's loyalty in you, there's, you know, discipline in you. And so he said, we have a station in McAllen, Texas. I'd like to interview you. We talked on the phone. He said, I'd like to interview in person. And I said, wow, you know, I was like, man, this is amazing if I could do this. So we set up our interview. I'm in South Texas. I tell my dad, hey, I have an interview with the Secret Service on Monday. And without blinking, then a second later, he says, you're not doing that. And I said, why? And he said, we're not gun people. You're not doing that.
Interesting.
And Michelle, I was already 31. And I could have said, Dad, I'm going to do it. And I said, so I listened to him. And so I decided, okay, I called the guy and I said, I'm sorry, I can't, you know, maybe another time.
Yeah.
But that could have been a totally different direction that I went.
Yeah. But your dad, it sounds like, held such authority, and not in a positive way. I can see it in your face. It was like positive respect for his view and his vision for your life.
Truly, truly. And we weren't gun people. I had friends who were hunters, and I just never did that. So I listened to him. I was like, well, you're right. Maybe you're right. But I do think about that sometimes, wondering where I would go.
It's a sliding doors moment.
Yeah, that's kind of how I got through all these different avenues of where I am now.
Tell people what you do now, and then I have a question about how some of that informs how you approach your current work.
Well, when I was in Plano, I was a elementary school counselor for 3 years. And then I became a high school counselor, senior high school counselor in Plano Senior High School for 2 years. And then the Plano administration approached me and said, we would like you to apply for this position, being in charge of our social services. And I thought, well, you know, maybe this is where I need to be. So I applied and I got the job, and I did that for 4 years. And I just loved it. And then there was an opportunity here in Irving ISD for a position leading the responsive services team and programs. So I came over, was here from 2007 to 2018, leading this program, and just amazing again, working with school counselors, working with administrators, helping families find resources, and I just loved it. Then I got an opportunity to go to be a principal at a private school, Fairhill School here in Addison. And I did that for a year. And I wanted to stay there, but they didn't pay into our retirement.
Yeah, the teacher retirement, yeah.
At that point, Irving ISD said, hey, we want to really explore employee wellness. And so I applied and I got this job. Now, while I was over the responsive services programs, Irving, the HR department would call me when there was an employee going through crisis or going through a hardship, and they would help. I would talk to them and help them find resources to help them through whatever they were going through, and make sure that they would be able to meet their expectations as far as their job, continue to work. And if it was something that was a little tougher for them, we would find a way to get them treatment or resources outside of the school. And so when they asked me to come back and lead this program, slowly we decided to be, instead of reactive, working with students already with employees already in crisis, to develop those resources so that they could reach out before they got to that point.
Mm.
And so we developed a website, and then a newsletter, and then social media, and then we started doing presentations on stress management, how to connect with students, how to create goals. And that was in the fall of 2019. So Michelle, in the spring of 2020, when the pandemic started, we already had a platform in place.
Amazing.
Then we started doing things virtually, as far as workshops and presentations on fear and stress during the pandemic, and how to talk to your family, and eating food that is, may be good for you and help fight some of these challenges. And it just was huge. So from March until, I think, late July, we did that, and we had so many people responding. At one point, we had to extend our account with Zoom, because we had so many people watching or participating in our presentations, virtual presentations. And so
Wow.
we started growing that way.
Oh my gosh. I'm thinking back to little you, who was so devoted to service and wanting to do something in the world that contributes, and all the iterations of how you did that over time. And then the fact that you came into this role, established it in fall of 19, right before it was so desperately needed, and your heart for service probably just showed up and filled those virtual rooms, and gave so much comfort.
And I need to say this also, and I want to say this, is that this whole culture shift of wellness and self-care was the vision of our superintendent.
Yeah.
From the time, and Miss Magda Hernandez is an amazing superintendent, from the time we started with the working with our employees who were going through some type of challenge, to where we are now, was her vision growing and growing and growing, evolving, and continuing to find ways to provide resources and programs and events for our employees. Truly, she was the one that said, all right, we need to start doing something. And now here we are.
Do you know what informed that commitment for her? Why did she see it so clearly?
I think part of it is just her character. I've known her for so long now, since I started here, and it's really part of her personality to make sure you're taking care of yourself, make sure that so that you can take care of others, so that you can do your job the best way you can. But it's also for you to feel better about where you are, what you're doing. She knew that we come to work with whatever's going on at home, or whatever we're thinking about we need to do next, not just the job. She knew that we needed to find peace in all that, so that, we started with her tagline was, self-care isn't selfish, it's necessary. And that's where we started. And then we worked into work-job balance, or work-life balance. And now we're at work-life harmony. Because
Nice.
she knows that work is part of life. So it's, again, her vision of making sure employees have outlets or resources. Truly, this is why we are where we are.
Hi, I'm Katie Worden, producer of Oxygen for Educators. I want to spotlight our sponsor, Tacky Box. Tacky Box is an elementary school program that pairs innovative content with a tactile tool in daily practice to teach children to self-monitor their own words and actions and their responses to others. It's a proven tool that reduces behavior incidents by 66%. Through daily self-reflection, students build self-awareness, self regulation, and meaningful connections. Tacky Box is a light lift for teachers with a big impact on student well being. Go to tackybox.com to learn more and become a Tacky Box district.
Okay, I am so intrigued by the seat you've had over these years, these last 5 years. You've had such a unique seat to see what it is people are really wanting and desperate for, the adults in the building, what is landing, and what do they want more of? Like, help fill out the picture in a way that only you can because of the last 5 years you've experienced.
I think, Michelle, I'll start with this. The program has so many different layers of support. And now we're at the point where we have two amazing fitness and well-being coordinators where we have actual fitness classes after school, after work. We have two different options. You have your Pilates and yoga, then you have your strength conditioning. And the tough part is that culture shift of taking time to come and do something,
Yeah.
And so that shift sometimes is tough because it's not an academic program, and so the shift of this is going to help me do my job is a little tougher, but we're getting there. Now we're not just in our wellness building, but we're going out to campuses as well to provide these classes, to provide presentations on wellness. So it's starting to move. And so as far as what employees are looking for, sometimes it feels like that doesn't start to develop until we get there.
Yeah.
Until we start to really showcase what we do. Not just fitness classes, but again, we have social hours once a quarter where employees can come in and have a meal and entertainment, sometimes listen to our student choirs, orchestras. We did line dancing last month, games, and just an opportunity for anyone to come in and enjoy this and get to know each other, network, and kind of learn from each other.
Yeah, you're creating that community care piece to combine with that work-life harmony, and so nice. So the program really, you said it used to be, let's attend to folks when they're in crisis, kind of one at a time, and I'm sure you're still doing that, but now you're also, let's get people moving their body. Let's get people connecting, laughing, having fun, those sorts of things.
Yes, exactly. And making sure that everyone in our district knows this is an opportunity for them, whether you're a teacher, administrator, support staff, work in facilities, work in food services, all of our resources are for everyone. And one of the taglines we're most proud of is wellness is for all shapes, all sizes, all the time. So it's not just come and try. Your goal is to look like Ken and Barbie. It's just come and enjoy and move. And if we inspire you to do a little more, then, that's amazing for us. So it's truly, we are getting more and more I say this, recognition from our employees, understanding. We have a wellness champion on every campus that will put out our information, who work with us and make sure that their employees or their coworkers know what's being offered. We put out what we call a wellness wire every week to our champions, who will then pass it on to their coworkers, their employees. And so
that's so smart. That makes it feel like anyone listening could bring this idea to their district. It's a lighter lift than it might sound when you talk about that web.
Yes, it's when we started this, Michelle, I got calls from several districts asking, "How are you doing this?
Yeah.
Where did you start? How do we start?" And so we'd have conversations about, what would be your mission? You write that down, form a committee. What are the needs of your employees? Send out a survey. You know, um, it doesn't have to cost much. It's just about sending out information. You already have benefits. You already have, whether it's through Blue Cross Blue Shield or whatever insurance your school district has, find out what they are. You already have an employee assistance program. Start to promote that more. So
Interesting.
it's out there. It's just finding a way to organize it.
How worried are you about educators in 2025? Like, what's the general pulse?
What worries me is the amount of what's required now, as far as standardized testing and making sure that our students are showing growth. We have an amazing leadership program who kind of oversees our each of our campuses and their administrators, and then we have an amazing counseling department that makes sure the counselors know the resources they need for their students and their families, parenting programs, home instructors who work with parents that who have preschool kiddos to help them kind of understand how to navigate education. Adult learning programs as well. Amazing topics or resources for our employees. I think what's tougher is when you're in the classroom and you have all these expectations. But we do have resources to help our employees, make sure they know how to relax or how to find what's positive around them, because the state is requiring more and more. It's not our district, it's what the state is requiring. And it's a little tougher. I don't want to bash public education in any way because of requirements, because it's where we are and we need to be. But I do think it gets a little tougher for educators anywhere. If you start to really look at what's required and how much growth is required, I think that new curriculum, whatever it would be in any subject, and then what they need to get through in 1 year, I think it's a little tougher than what I remember, 25 years ago.
And what I hear your work is about is removing the barriers between whatever an educator might be experiencing or feeling and relief or an outlet or community, like those things that we know that act as protective factors in highly stressful times. You and your team are like taking that to people, so they're not having to do a lot of heavy lifting in terms of brain work to figure out how to support themselves. You're trying to like put it right there. It's one forklift instead, or, like one tiny bite instead of having to like reinvent a whole wellness thing as an individual.
Yeah, exactly. I have to continue to recognize our superintendent because she makes sure that these programs are in place, opportunities are in place, and encourages us and recognizes us also for what we're doing. We have, Michelle, lunch and learns for our employees, for anyone that wants to participate. 15 minutes during lunchtime, 3 opportunities. And we do a meditation, and we do journaling, and we do a stretch, whether it's in your chair or stand up, 5 minutes each. So it's just a 15-minute
short bite
session. And the feedback we're getting about, wow, I didn't, I had never journaled, or I hadn't thought about that kind of question. We're trying to find opportunities to get out there. I'm doing a presentation now. I'm peddling a presentation now called The Power of Laughter, and how to connect with your students through humor. And how to connect with all your students, because some of your students are going to be easy to relate to, and then you've got your kiddos who maybe have the darker humor, or kiddos who are the loners, that it's not cool to laugh. but how to find a way to respect all that, not try to change them, but to connect with them and relate to them and hopefully help guide them in a positive, all of them in a positive way. So yeah.
That is such a critical message right now. I feel like with a lot of kind of the tone and tenor in the country, there's almost apology for laughter and joy and any kind of good feeling, because there's some big things that are really hurting a lot of people and it's challenging. And so I run into folks, and I feel it myself too, that there can be a sense of like, am I allowed to laugh? Am I allowed to feel joyful? Does that in any way take away from my worry about these big things? And what I've come to know, and it sounds like you've come to know in offering this class, is that our connection to joy and laughter and lightness and freedom creates the possibility for everyone around us to lift in terms of their nervous system, lift up a little bit. And it's in that lift that we can collectively build something that our country's really proud of. But if we're all just feeling paralyzed and like joy and laughter isn't allowed and we're only supposed to feel heavy, it's going to be really hard to get like creative and show up with inspired action to create the country we want. So I love that you're doing a course about the value and importance of laughter.
I enjoy it. I enjoy doing research, Michelle, on information that I can bring to our employees or to our families, whether it's laughter or how to manage stress, how to connect with your kiddos. I did a presentation on stress last year and talked about a question that I asked the audience. Do you think someone can be addicted to stress? And or do you think stress can be helpful? And getting that conversation going about how much stress is in my life and why is it in my life, or does it motivate me sometimes? And I'll ask them, if when I ask them, do you think stress can be positive? Just that conversation of, well, what do you mean? But it does motivate us sometimes, inspires us to get things done. You can't rely on that all the time. I get it, and believe me, I understand it. But you can't, you have to find other ways to motivate yourself also. But don't get down on yourself, because sometimes we use that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I enjoy that, doing research on the learning, reading articles on it. Of course, these days we can cheat and ask chat, to create a presentation. But I like learning it myself and understanding. And I will say I have used chat in the past and argued with chat and also about weighing in. But,
First we fought with Siri, now we fight with chat. It just keeps going. Okay, so one of the things I loved about your story arc is the time you spent in deep reflection and contemplation, and how that like tied you so deeply to empathy. And then I picture all the ways that shows up in your current work, and how people surely feel, like I feel it just spending this hour with you. I can only imagine how healing you as a presence are for the district and everyone there, because of the experiences you had pre-education. Is that how you see it, or what do you think?
I do think, yes, my experience has helped me so much. One little thing I didn't share about when I left the seminary, and when I didn't get to go into Secret Service, a friend of mine, his sister owned a bail bondsman group. And so I got a job there being a bail bondsman and learning about that legal system and how that works, and understanding it's not always about you did something wrong or you broke the law. And learning, really, Michelle, their understanding, there's always a reason that people do what they do. And there's always a history to that. It's not just you're a bad person, or you hurt somebody, or there are some things that absolutely should never be done. But learning the background about why that happened and hearing conversations about that, it has helped me get to where I am, even though that was just 2 months worth of a small career doing that. But I did learn from that and understand, okay, I don't want to judge people just on first sight. I don't want to, I don't think that's fair to them. So certainly that experience and being in the seminary has helped me as well. And so being in television helped me as well, understanding the pressure of, before we get on the air, how to calm yourself. So yes, it absolutely, what I have experienced has really helped me so much in what I do now.
Now you're such a beacon for service, that commitment you had as a young boy, and it extends across the entire district. That is really so beautiful and so wonderful. When you agreed to come visit with us, was there anything you wanted to make sure we talked about that we haven't covered?
Well, I have listened to several of your podcasts to kind of see what the format was going to be and how you're going to ask questions, and I learned a lot about you. And I wanted to share again, and you've asked incredible questions, and so I just wanted to make sure that whether you're an educator or you work for a company or a small group, that wellness is out there, for you. There are opportunities for wellness. It can be a culture shift. I think we're seeing that more and more around the country, understanding mental health, or at least talking about mental health, removing that stigma, under that anybody, it's not that you can't do your job. It's just caring for yourself, just as you exercise or as you eat better, understanding, okay, your mental health has to be a priority as well. So having the opportunity to talk about this and the whole wraparound, health, including mental health, I think was an amazing opportunity. So I'm so grateful to be here.
Well, one of the things we believe with our whole hearts here is that if the adults in the building aren't cared for, the kids in the building can't be cared for and can't achieve their full potential. So you live that day in and day out. And I really like how your message to whoever's listening inspires them to be an active co-creator around their own well-being. That there are things out there. There's just a ton of things out there now. I mean, it's an abundance in terms of ideas, strategies, resources that are even free. So if everyone listening, even just 1 or 2 degrees, leans into what would be helpful to their well-being, their mental health, their nervous system, and just plays with that a little bit more each week over the course of the next year, their whole lives will transform in a year, if not much, much sooner, just becoming that active agent.
Yes. That self-talk, about how you feel about yourself.
Yeah.
It's so easy. I know it's easy for me to beat myself up because, I should have done this, or I should have said this, or, instead of that, I did a good job here, or I'm proud that I did this, or I accomplished this. Even as the smallest task, that self-talk makes all the difference in how you feel about yourself and how you care about yourself. So absolutely.
I'm glad you brought that in. That really is a good place to start, even if you just audit, how am I talking to myself? Am I talking to myself with the compassion I would a good friend, or am I, just a really harsh critic? Thank you. What a joy to spend this time with you. I know we're on screen, but I feel your presence. Like I feel your heart and your presence and your commitment to everyone you work with and the kids that they work with. And I'm just glad to know you and glad to know what you're up to.
Well, again, it's been an honor to be with you. I feel privileged to be able to share. And so thank you again. And thank you for all you do as well. I mean, the information that you have out there for us, makes a huge difference. Your resources, make a huge difference. So
awesome.
Thank you.
So good to hear. Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Welcome back, Chris.
Thank you for your lovely welcome.
What jumped out at you about our new friend Joe?
Well, the first thing that jumped out at me is I would like to hear you speak in a British accent, and I dare you to do the rest of the podcast in it.
Wait, nobody else heard that. That was offline. You're going to have to make that make sense. That wasn't part of the podcast.
Never mind. Scratch that. Start again.
No,
Can you do one?
No.
Okay.
But to make it make sense to the listeners, I highly enjoy what if scenarios. It drives my husband crazy, but that's in my mind all the time, or like antisocial what if scenarios. So right before Jose and I pushed record to actually do the podcast, we'd already been talking for like 5 minutes, and I asked him, what if I just switched to a British accent right as we began recording the podcast? And he was so cute. He just took it right in stride. He was like, oh, yeah, I'll join you.
It really made my day.
That is what Chris's otherwise nonsensical comment means and makes sense.
Okay, did you not fall in love with him when he told the pants leg story?
Okay, 100% I did. And even before he got to the pants leg, the fact that his, like, the richness of his love for those first graders that he worked with in the 90s, that is still so present for him. I was like, oh, I know who you are just from that one story. And then, yes, the pant leg story. Oh my God. So crazy. And he was protecting their little souls and just being like, please grab a tissue and grab one for me.
It was so great. It was so great. On that note, one of the comments that I jotted down was he said, the kids taught me more about education and desire to connect. And when he said that, it brought back just that whole philosophy of seeing the world through the eyes of a child, and how much awe and wonder and beauty and joy there is if you could do that.
Yeah. And
he was
still
front and center.
doing it.
He's still
Even
doing
though
it.
he's not, his work isn't currently with kids. There's still the driving force for him.
And I dare to say that's probably how he walks through the world. Mm-hmm. You can kind of see it in his countenance.
Yeah. Yeah, I would go to him for education advice, mental health advice, spiritual advice. Like he's got it all, and he's
you
so
really want to
humble.
get to call him Joe, don't you?
You and I both.
We do.
We're in. Yeah, he's gonna call us after this and be like, "Of course you can call me Joe."
I hope so.
Or he won't, and then we'll know.
Depends on how the rest of this conversation goes.
Good point. Good point.
What came up for you?
Okay, another funny. He had me, I'm sure you noticed, like full on laughing so many times. And the fact that he's now also working on a course that he's doing with people in Irving about laughter, I was like, that tracks. But another one that he had me full on laughing was when he told the story of his friend and he couldn't remember the name. And then the name was his name. I mean, I've giggled about that multiple times since that interview. Loved it.
That's awesome.
And how about his sister sending out his resume?
So great. Well, and the other thing that I loved is that that he was doing, as you say, his zig and zags, and then thought about education, and it was a friend that told him, you can do it.
From the other room.
Yes, from the other room. And so he did it. But you and I had talked about the etymology of the word friendship being a high sense of safety, which I heard on another Chip Conley's podcast with Mark Nepo. I think Mark is the one who said it. But I just thought about that because he took a risk because his friend made him feel safe to do it, confident and safe to do it.
I don't even know what to say to that. Like, yes, I'll just say yes.
Okay. I like that.
It moves me. Okay, so the other thing I was thinking in spending time with him is that because of his superintendent, Miss Magda Hernandez, that he referred to so admiringly, because of her clarity and vision and because of his clarity of vision and execution, they were doing work in this educator wellness space way before it was mainstream. Like they really are trailblazers. And so what he has to say about what works and what lands had a lot of weight to me.
Agreed. And it made me, number one, hope that you can interview her about how she got there.
Yeah.
And two, I just thought, I wish the whole world would have had access to what they were putting out during COVID. I wish I would have had it for sure. And my family would have had it for sure.
And the clarity of a leader's vision, setting all that up in 2019 so that when 2020 hit, they were ready and they could just hit the ground running and serve those educators in a meaningful way. To me, that's an example of a leader that has their fingers on the pulse of what's needed. They're not just like following trends or newsletters or podcasts or whatever. They're like really tracking and they're doing what they know is right, regardless of what's in the water. To me, they were doing these things before it was in the water.
Yeah, and I jotted down for other districts. I know he said, set your mission. He gave the steps. Somehow it didn't make it to my notes, but he gave the steps about setting the mission and then surveying employees, like really walking through and then giving them what it is that they want or need. So I think there was a lot in what he's doing, and he commented on other districts contacting him. But there's a lot in what he's doing that could be transferred to other listeners' districts, I think.
Agreed. They have cracked some codes, and he should be advising other districts. I loved, for example, the wellness champion on every campus. Genius. So smart. So smart. Because, of course, every campus has someone that is like deeply passionate about this, and hearing from that person on your campus and making sure the information and the opportunities cascade down and the enthusiasm and the accessibility cascades down, as opposed to Jose and his team trying to like flood the zone and hope people are reading their emails or whatever. It's just so smart.
And I'm sure his team is not large enough to serve the whole entire district that way.
Yeah, in the absence of that group, you're right.
Also, what a gift to the champion to get to do that work, because if you're passionate enough about it that you get the opportunity to venture into that, I would think that would be exciting.
Yeah, I wonder what they do for their champions. Like, it would be interesting to see, how do they pick them, and how do they support them? Like, how robust is that relationship?
Why didn't you ask him that question?
I fell down on the job. Dang it, we're going to have to do a part 2.
Save that for you can ask the superintendent.
Yeah, I love it. Do you know what phrase he used that I was like, oh, Chris is going to love that?
Oh, I don't know. Which one?
Work-life harmony.
You know what? I made a note about that to ask you, like, what does that mean to you?
Oh, no, I asked first, so you got to go first.
You didn't ask. Well, I don't know. I've self-proclaimed I'm still trying to figure it out. You're the one who's figured it out.
Well, I think it's a forever thing, but I think I've largely figured it out. But to me, hearing him talk about the progression is it moves it away from that balance word, which invites constant self-scrutiny, where harmony, it's like it's ebbing, it's flowing. Are they working well together? Like at some point, one's going to be heavier than the other. But does it work for you? That feels like so much gentler and kinder than balance, which feels dichotomous and like you either get it right or you don't. That's how I heard it.
That additional color makes me want to take that back to D Magazine, because at our, on our team, some weeks we are not on deadline. And so there's a lot of flexibility for the whole team, even the, creators.
Yeah.
And then there are other weeks where it's, around the clock work.
Yeah.
But I think work-life balance makes you think, okay, 5 o'clock I cut off.
Yeah.
Right? No matter what there is. But I would rather people take the light week and,
Yeah.
find freedom and then be ready on the other side. So interesting.
Yeah.
That's helpful to me. Thank you.
Well, thank our friend Joe.
Yeah. Still trying.
I'm still trying. Still auditioning for Joe status. What else?
Well, I loved that he went to seminary, which explains a lot about him. And I just find, I don't know about you, but I find people who went into seminary and then went back out into the world with those gifts to be some of the most interesting people out there. The first person I met that had done that is a singer-songwriter. I've talked about him before, Walt Wilkins. They call him the godfather of Texas music. But he went to seminary.
I like how your voice changes every time you say that. You always go, the godfather of... You always do it.
I do?
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, it's a cool title. Who wouldn't want to be that?
It deserves a little
gravitas.
Lilt. Yeah.
But he said when he was in seminary, I feel like I could serve people and do more in bars with my guitar than here. And so he just writes these soulful songs and he's out on stages moving people. And I just thought about Walt when he was telling his story, because I feel like that's exactly what he's doing. To go from being a Carmelite to a school counselor to leading an employee wellness program, it's so fascinating to me.
And you feel it in his presence. Like you feel someone who's done deep contemplative work, and that informs how they show up interaction to interaction. And I think that's the distinction. It's like people who make a decision to study from a contemplative perspective, going back out into the world, their energy is medicine. This is coming from a missionary kid, people who go study and they come out of that religious study feeling like things are dogmatic or more black and white, or, like the opposite of contemplative, the opposite of spacious. Those people going back into the world scares the beep out of me. So I'm very appreciative of contemplative study and those humans walking amongst us, and very terrified about the opposite. Look at you smiling. You're like, please work that out in therapy, Michelle. This podcast is for other people, not for you to work out your stuff.
We'll give you a pass this time.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
You bet. What else came up for you?
We already hit on this a little bit, but I just want to kind of like double click the laughter piece. Because he's doing the course, because he embodies it so generously and so he embodies it and he elicits it in the way he tells stories, and like he's just magic in that way. It got me thinking about laughter in the nervous system. And what we know is that like when we laugh, our nervous system takes like a literal reset, because it's like that vagus nerve, which governs regulation, it responds to laughter the same way it does to deep breathing or to singing. It's like a cue of safety. And so it tells the body, you're okay now. And that's a literal impact on the vagus nerve, but the way people kind of grab it more easily is when you think about if you're in literal fight, flight, or shut down kind of danger, you would never stop and laugh. So if you're laughing, then you automatically tell your body it's safe. And when I say literal, I mean there's a tiger on your feet.
I did not know that.
Yeah. You would never, right? You would run until you either got eaten or you outran that kind of imminent life threat danger. So when you laugh, when you take a deep breath, your body goes, oh, well, whatever that situation is can't be tiger level danger, quote unquote, because I'm laughing. So
I really did not know that, but that's, as you know, that's kind of probably my go-to is laughter in tough times.
Yeah.
We've always thought that it was a very strange thing about our family, but
we share it. We share it.
I know.
But our family shares it too.
Okay.
Big time. So many moments where other people would have been super somber, where we were laughing outrageously. And it was healing for us, 100%.
I love that. I love it.
That was the other piece. So when laughter happens in contagious, that connective tissues, our nervous system sync up and we get the message that not only are we guarded and grounded in our own, we're guarded and grounded amongst and between us. So laughter sends this really powerful nervous system message to us as individuals, but also when it's shared, it's even more potent.
I love that. Thank you for bringing that to the table.
Yeah. And then the other thing that came up for me when I was thinking about him as a person and the work he's doing is laughter's also almost it's like a micro dose of rebellion to despair, to counter despair. And it just chips away at that sense of helpless, hopeless despair when we make space in our lives for laughter, for joy, for deep breathing, for freedom, for lightness, any of those things that get crowded out by despair. When we open ourselves up to them, even for a microsecond, it's an act of rebellion, which I just love because I love rebellion. Of course you do. Yeah. Rebellion on behalf of our own well-being is an interesting concept to me.
Ooh, I hope that's meaningful for listeners. It's very meaningful for me.
Well, Dunsies then.
Listener. This listener.
When you and I listen to the podcast when it comes out, and Joe, the three of us, may we be served. I think Katie listens.
We have a lot of listeners now. But it's still a fun bit.
Yeah, we do enjoy the bit.
As you would imagine, I loved how he focused on encouraging people to find the positive things around them in hard things like heavy requirements. And he also talked about just unexpected joy, which I loved. And I've always called that playing hide and seek with God. And so it's just okay, where am I going to see these things today? And just watching for them. But how cool that that's embedded in his work and in his presentation to remind people to do that. It makes every day fun in some way, because at some point that invisible world will pierce the visible world and something interesting will happen if you just watch for it.
If you're paying attention, if you're looking for it. I love that. Where did you get that hide and seek with God? That's so powerful.
I think I got it from my journal, but I'm not 100% sure. I didn't read it somewhere else and then, it be embedded. So don't let me claim it if it belongs to someone else, but I'm not sure. And then the other one I love, which is not mine, is every day not seeking God is a wasted day. And so I try to kind of like incorporate all those together. And I was thinking about educators feeling so overwhelmed and having so many requirements, which our friend Joe acknowledged. And in the midst of all that, there's the kid with snot on your leg. And can that be an unexpected moment of joy?
Get a tissue, please, and get one for me. Oh my God, I love that. And people who listen have every version of religious background, spiritual. So when we use the word God, fill in the blank for you. Like any day not seeking God, not seeking, for some people it will be Jesus, for some people it will be magic, universe. But it's that belief that we are spiritual creatures having a human experience.
Oh my gosh, those words are actually on my notepad.
Well, of course they are.
And I was
I'm not coming anymore to these. Can you just do both of our parts?
Well, I was thinking about just a small example of that. I shared this story with you earlier, but yesterday I had a car wreck, and I say wreck lightly, but I rear-ended somebody pretty hardcore at a yield sign by accident. And I just thought, oh no, not one more thing to deal with. But, we pulled over into the parking lot. My car was fine. His car was fine. I'm getting my insurance stuff out because I'm assuming he's going to want to, follow up with me in case there's damage to his car. And I just started crying and I was like, it's all my fault. I'm so sorry. And he just looked at me. He's like, my car is fine. He goes, do you need a hug? And he didn't even want my number. Like he wasn't worried about it at all. I took the hug and I called that one of those moments.
He might have wanted your number for different reasons.
Well, he didn't take it, so I don't think so. And he was about half my age.
Okay. Go back to your point. In that moment when that other human saw you and showed up human to human, that was a God moment for you, a hide and seek.
Yes, because I got out of the car truly anticipating he would be angry or, I just hit his car, changed his day, all of the things. And he looked at it and he's like, are you okay? Is there anyone else in the car? Like he was just more concerned about me. And then I think that's when I started crying over his kindness. And that's what he looked at me. He's like, do you need a hug? And I go, yes. And then I'm hugging this stranger in the parking lot.
Well, what he offered you was co-regulation. And he could have sent your nervous system way further into survival. Of course, but instead his regulated, kind, calm response was like, okay, I'm safe.
Yeah.
So nice.
It was lovely.
And how many times a day do we have the opportunity to be that person to another person?
And I think that's what educators are doing all day long, every day.
And for sure Jose is. Don't you know that the way he shows up, he doesn't have to have a fact to share, a resource to share. Just his presence is probably so grounding. Anything else on your list? I have one more thing.
Let's hear what you have.
Well, I've had my head in Victoria Safford's The Small Work and the Great Work essay. I mentioned it in the last short form podcast we just did. But there's a sentence in her essay that made me think of Jose, so I would love to share that. She says, I am not here to save anybody or to save the world. And she's quoting a psychiatrist who lost a patient. That's who these words are, but it's in her essay. I am not here to save anybody or to save the world. All I can do, what I am called to do, is to plant myself at the gates of hope. Sometimes they come in, sometimes they walk by, but I stand there every day and I call out till my lungs are sore with calling and beckon and urge them in toward beautiful life and love. I'm like, okay, that's Jose. That's what he does.
That is Jose. That's Jose. And his message to everyone. I loved how you guys talked about being co-creators of your own well-being. And it sounds like that's what the love that he's walking around offering to others is a reminder to do that.
Perfect note to end on.
Great. Thank you, Joe, for being on our podcast. I tried again.
Joe, call us. Thank you, Chris, and thank you to Katie Warden, our producer. Huge thanks to Jose and his entire team, and we will see you all soon. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Oxygen for Educators. Please like, share, and follow, and if inclined, leave us a 5-star review so that we can keep making content for you. Let us hear from you if you know someone we should interview or a topic we should cover.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the guest and host and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any organization. The content is provided for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended as professional advice. Listeners are encouraged to use their own judgment and seek appropriate professional support when needed. Oxygen for Educators, its host, and production partners are not responsible for any actions taken based on the information shared in this podcast.